Danny Flexen here for Seconds Out. Delighted to be joined by former world middleweight champion Darren Barker. Darren, how are you?
Yeah, I'm very well, thanks, mate. All good. Lovely to be in Abu Dhabi. I'm here with my wife and a couple of kids. It's nice to get a bit of sunshine, mate.
You know the region pretty well, don't you?
First time I've been in Abu Dhabi. I've been to Dubai a few times, like everybody else. But yeah, look, I had my honeymoon here. I won't go into it too much, but Zika virus. I couldn't go to the Maldives. I went to Dubai, had a great time. So we've been back a couple of times since. So yeah, nice to be here, mate.
The people are talking about the spectacle of it, the grandeur, if you like, but the card itself is absolutely stacked. What do you make of the main event, first of all? Because Bivol's coming off that great win over Canelo, but hasn't always impressed before that. Do you get the impression he's one of those fighters that needs a real strong challenge to get up for it?
Yeah, I think so. It's a good fight. I really rate Ramirez. Untested in comparison to Bivol. When I say, he hasn't quite competed at the level that Bivol has. And I'm not getting too carried away with the Canelo fight. There was a big weight difference between the two of them, naturally. But nonetheless, he performed really well. And I feel if he keeps it sensible, doesn't get drawn into too much of a fight with Ramirez, doesn't get backed up too much, doesn't give away too much space, I feel he wins this one on points. But I feel there could be some real moments of excitement throughout the 12 rounds. But I see it being a points victory for Bivol.
And then do you see him going back in with Canelo? Do you see him doing that rematch?
Look, if you're Bivol, that would be the fight you'd want. It's just massive money. He's achieved so much in the game already, and I think about securing your family financially would be your next box to tick. So I'd no doubt that would be the fight he'd be chasing. Just before you ask me the question, for me, the fight of the night is this woman behind us, McCaskill versus Cameron. I think if you see McCaskill's last fight, she just went hell for leather, and I feel she's just not wasting any time. She just wants to crack on and entertain the fans, and there's so much on the line. Undisputed world champion is at stake. So I just feel that's got all the ingredients to potentially match Taylor Serrano.
And she's got a tough challenge, Chantel, but an even tougher challenge, that's certainly on paper, is Barrett, coming in at not short notice, but to replace another fighter against Rakhimov, who's pretty fearsome champion. What do you think Zelfa's best approach is in terms of beating Rakhimov?
Well, I spoke to Pat Barrett today about it, and kind of, not that I was giving my advice. Pat knows more than I do. But I don't think it's rocket science. It's about you want to get Rakhimov's respect. So a sort of a Donovan type left hook wouldn't go amiss. Try and hurt Rakhimov. Let him know that look, I can punch as well. You don't want to give up too much ground. You don't want to get bullied, pushed onto the ropes and into the corner. And I've mentioned it before. You sometimes see it with laid back personalities outside of the ring that sometimes they can transfer that into the ring. And Zelfa has been guilty of that a couple of times. You see it against Kiko, but when he switched on like he was against Korbanov, he's a tough man to beat. But Rakhimov, he really showed what a class fighter he was against Diaz. I thought that was a brilliant fight. I think it was a draw. But I remember my dad saying when I was a kid, about 10 years old, when you throw a punch, make sure you throw it properly. And that's what Rakhimov does. When he throws a shot, he doesn't pour it out. He really commits to the shot. And I feel that's something Zelfa's got to be wary of. He's got to be switched on. He's got to be disciplined. He can't switch off for a second because lights could be out. It's an interesting fight. And what I love about this fight is I feel sorry for Cordina that he had to vacate. He got stripped of the title because of the hand injury. But sometimes these things happen for a reason. Can you imagine if Zelfa pulls it off, the fight back in either Cardiff or Manchester against Cordina? It's a huge fight, and Joe's then got the opportunity, regardless of the winner, to be two-time world champion. So though he'll be frustrated, he's got an opportunity, like I say, to really make his mark in boxing. So it's do you know what? Like you said there, the show's blinding. It really is, mate. It's a really good show. I know there's some Matchroom haters out there, but you can't hate on this show. If you're a boxing fan, you understand that this is a blinder.
I'm certainly not going to hate on it out here in Abu Dhabi. But beyond this show, which fight or fights are you most looking forward to before the end of the year?
Well, you've thrown me there. I mean, look, What I will mention is Katie Taylor last weekend. I thought it was a brilliant display against Carbajal, who boxed better than I was expecting her to perform, if I'm honest. She was second best in every department, but she showed that she was worthy of that mandatory spot and that challenge. But Katie Taylor once again proven why she's arguably number one pound for pound. I mean, it's out of her and Shields, isn't it? But the fight I'm most looking forward to, and there are some, we've got Josh Warrington on the 10th of December, we've got Dillian White coming back against Franklin, but the thought of going to Croke Park in Ireland, potentially Taylor Serrano number 2, that is what really gets me going. I can't wait, mate.
Now, we're not going to talk about the Conor Benn situation. I think we're both a bit tired of it by now. But Tony Sims is a good friend of mine. He's your mentor. I think it might be useful just for the viewers for you to give an account of what you think of Tony Sims, because he's getting a lot of unfair stick at the moment. I think people maybe need to know a bit more about what sort of man he is.
Tony Sims is a boxing man. He lives and breathes this sport. And let me tell you now, for the 11 years that I was with Tony, he mentored me. He taught me how to fight, if you like. And there was never, ever any mention of any drugs through my time there, ever. Tony he couldn't be more against that. We all understand most of the time boxing is a level playing field where you fight someone, certainly in the amateurs, your age and weight, it's a fair fight most of the time. I know pros is a little bit different, but we share the same thought on that. And there is never been any mention, like I say, of any wrongdoing in that gym. He is all about the purest nature, purest form of the sport, and I feel gutted for Tony that there's been this sort of shadow cast over him, because he's a top man. You see him, look, there's some wallies out there, coaches who just want to be famous, want to be in front of camera. You never see Tony doing that. He's a boxing man who just wants the best out of his fighters. And I look forward to this all sort of blowing over and sort of Tony getting the recognition once again that he deserves as a man and as a coach.
And on the plus side, he's not letting it affect his professional life too much. We saw Maisie Rose Courtney make a successful debut at the weekend, and now John Ryder's going in with Zach Parker for the WBO interim title, and that's a fight I'm probably most looking forward to before the end of the year. What do you make of that one?
Two good lads. Yeah, first off, I'll say hats off to Maisie Rose, because she was afloat. She was supposed to be on first. So she got to the arena, would have been about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. She didn't end up fighting until about, 9:30. So you imagine the frustration. She thought she may be after Katie Taylor once she wasn't on first. That's the sort of the nature of being afloat. You just sort of slot it in as and when possible, and if you can't get on before the main event, you're on after the main event when it's essentially an empty arena. She fought just before her idol in Katie Taylor, and she showed so much composure and maturity for someone that has never fought as a professional. It's incredible. So hats off to Maisie Rose. Ryder Parker. Do you know what? 2 top lads, but I'm mates with John Ryder. He's been there for me. He flew out to Niagara Falls, where I was based for the Sergio Martinez fight. He was a novice pro, if you like, and he flew out because I got let down with southpaw sparring. Right, that John Ryder he's a top man. He flew out to Niagara Falls after we got let down by I can't remember who it was, Adam Troupis. Let us down, so we had no southpaw sparring. We flew John Ryder out. He landed, come straight to the gym after jet lag to fuck, and did 10 rounds with me, and I was firing on all cylinders. I just feel, right, he's so experienced now, John. He's been around the block. He's suffered highs, he's suffered lows. He just knows how to drag people into his fight, and I just feel, though I really rate Zach Parker as a fighter and as a man, I feel this is John Ryder's moment. He's proved people wrong time and time again, and I think this is another occasion where he'll get the job done. Was it WBO interim? And then I think, I hope he finally gets a shot at a world title. Obviously he had the Callum Smith one, but again.
Aside from the Matchroom work and your 12 Freeze gyms as well, what are you spending most of your time doing at the moment?
Well, I've done this, set up this management company with Joe Kawasaki, haven't I? Good mates with Joe. I think the reason for us is, one, we're passionate about boxing. Two, we miss the buzz of being fighters. But, you know, we hear it time and time again, Father Time waits for no man. We both achieved our ultimate goal, but we still miss that buzz. And I think the next best way of, I guess, filling that void is by managing or training fighters. Neither of us want to train fighters, so we're going to manage fighters and get that buzz back, get that journey back, support and help young fighters. Like I say, Jordan Reynolds fought at the weekend, Lutonian, 27, 4-0 now. He'd been out the ring a year, so that was a buzz just watching him perform and win. We've got young Jesus Martinez based out in San Antonio, Texas. He's fighting on a Robert Garcia bill on November 18th, and yeah, I think, you know, with me, I get bored really easy. So to have loads of little different things going on, the commentary, the punditry, the management, my gym, I mean, out of all of those things, the thing that keeps me the busiest, is none of those. It's my family. I've got 4 kids, I'm married, you know, I don't stop, mate. I'm 100 miles per hour. So, yeah, life's good, mate. You know, I was just said in an interview there, I remember my dad saying to me when I was about 10 years old, if you get good at this game, you'll travel the world. And I remember being 10 or 11 going, it's fucking joking, you know. I travelled the world as an amateur, I travelled the world as a professional, and I'm still travelling the world now. I really am blessed to be a part of the greatest sport in the world. Don't get me wrong, there are some dark shadows that cover boxing sometimes, but it's always stood the test of time, boxing, and there's been low points, there's been high points, there's been great fighters like Muhammad Ali that retired, and then new fighters come in and they don't get the recognition they deserve, like Larry Holmes. Mike Tyson comes in, he retires, and then, you know, yeah, exactly, Pernod. All of these fighters that just sort of dip because they're after great fighters. But what I'm trying to get at is boxing's always stood the test of time. It always gets back up there. So you can compare it to other sports, but let me tell you, boxing will always reign supreme as the ultimate combat sport in the world. Mark my words, it's been there and it always will be there. I don't see anybody, whether it's good stuff or bad stuff, nobody talks about boxing or talks about any other sport more than boxing, in my opinion. That's the reason. It's because it's the greatest sport out there. Don't get me wrong, there's a lot more that could be done to make this sport better. You know, nothing's perfect, and boxing certainly isn't, but we'll always strive to be perfect. And if in some mad world that boxing was able to hit perfection, we've cracked it.
Well, fingers crossed. Maybe in the next generation.
Yeah, not mine, I don't think, or yours.
Darren, really appreciate it,
Cheers,
mate.